everyone. Today I'm talking about INFJs, INFPs, and the midlife transition. Midlife transition can be a really challenging time for a lot of people. Part of this is that it's not at all celebrated in our culture, in our society. In fact, you might have heard of it by its other name, midlife crisis. When we say midlife crisis, pretty much everyone knows what you're talking about, right? You hit that point in your 40s or your 50s, sometimes your 60s, and it feels like everything's changing. It feels like you might have a loss of identity. You're going through big life shifts. This is a really challenging period of time for a lot of people, but especially mainstream people. It's really, really hard. A lot of people feel like they're losing their youth, or they're losing their beauty, losing their looks, or they're losing their status in society. They might feel like they've been a very valuable part of their company and now they're getting phased out and the younger people are being brought in. Sometimes relationships end and someone might feel like, oh, I've been replaced by someone else younger than me. That's a lot of, that's pretty ordinary for the midlife crisis story that we hear in our society and in our culture. And then the media also really pushes this idea that if you're not youthful, if you're not young, then you're not relevant. If you're older, if you're past a certain age, then you don't play as valuable a part in society as the younger people do. So we're surrounded on all sides by these messages from the media that as we age, we lose our value. And then a lot of people who are really identifying through their looks, through their status in society, maybe through their job, through their status in the hierarchy where they work or in the family, they might also really feel that. This is actually a time of life that's not as difficult for INFJ personality types and INFP personality types. It can still be really challenging and really confusing, but honestly, in my opinion, I do think we have a little bit of an advantage here, maybe a lot of an advantage, because we're not so attached to those things that mainstream types are. We're not so attached to youth and beauty and outward appearance and status in society or our status in the hierarchy. Those things just don't mean as much to us, and they don't usually mean as much to us whether we're 20 or we're 50 or we're 80. We have a different set of values and we put importance on different things. So when we do start to age and our body starts changing and our appearance starts changing and our identity shifts, a lot of the time for INFJ personality types and INFP personality types, this is something we start to get kind of excited about, even though we can also feel very confused at the same time. So it's kind of this mixed bag of emotions where we're feeling the stirrings of new growth inside us, and we're feeling like big new changes are coming into our lives, and maybe we've even been sort of thrown a curveball by a relationship ending or a job ending. But along with that, there's the excitement of new growth. There might be renewed inspiration. There's this sort of bubbly electric feeling that things are changing and things are going to be different. And INFJ personality types and INFP personality types tend to really thrive on those feelings. We really value growth. Growth is one of our main goals in life. It's one of our main values in life. And we are willing to be uncomfortable if it means that we get the growth. That's something that really sets us apart from a lot of other types. We are willing to be uncomfortable as long as we feel like we're going to get growth in exchange for the discomfort. A lot of other mainstream types do not feel this way. They would definitely rather take security over growth. And this is one of the big reasons that INFJ personality types and INFP personality types tend to clash with other MBTI types, because not that we have no need for security, but we really don't understand holding on to security over growth, right? Or sacrificing growth in the name of security. That doesn't make much sense to us because we're so growth oriented. And again, we're growth oriented at any age. So you may have noticed this in yourself when you were 13 or 23 or 33, and it will keep happening beyond, even as we get into old age. We are very growth oriented individuals. So we really value growth and we value individuation. We value finding our true self, finding our true voice, expressing our true essence. That means a lot to us. And a lot of times that's the goal of our life, whether we are an artist or a writer or a healer or a musician, we're always pursuing greater individuation. We're always trying to find out what makes me, me, and what makes me, me separate from everyone else, right? Like, how am I unique and how can I express my uniqueness and my own deep true self to the world? That's something that's also very important to INFJ personality types and INFP personality types. Midlife is one of the best periods to tune into this midlife transition. And it can really come at a lot of different ages. I've known some INFJs and INFPs who report, I felt like I entered midlife when I was 35. I've met others who've said, I didn't feel like I entered it until I was 55. Some people have said to me 60 or even in the early 60s. So there's no one age that you can really pinpoint when the midlife transition starts. It is unique to every individual. But when it does begin, it really feels like you've entered a new phase of your life. So maybe you've had children and now your children are grown and they've left the house and you're experiencing the empty nest, right? Or maybe you've been with one job forever and that job came to an end or the company dissolved or it's time for you to move on and you're leaving this job you were at for 25 or 30 years. Maybe you were partnered up very young, like you met your partner when you were, 18 or 19 or 20 and you've been with that partner for a long time and then something happens where that partner dies or passes on or there's a divorce or you go your separate ways, right? So it's usually characterized by something outward happening in your life, a big life transition. And when that happens, you realize, oh, I've been functioning with this identity, this lifestyle, this way of being, right? This mode of thinking for so many years, for 20 or 30 years. And now everything's changing and I'm becoming a different person. And now what I'm focused on is not so much other people. It's not so much raising the family or working for the company or putting everything I have into the marriage. It's much more focused on me, right? And asking these questions, who am I? What do I really want? What is my identity? What is my essence? What do I have inside of me? So that's what characterizes the midlife transition. Now you can see for other types who are non-intuitive and maybe much more conventional, much more plugged into mainstream society, these are really hard questions. A lot of people feel uncomfortable facing questions like these, and they would rather not do it at all. That's why I say INFJs and INFPs, I really believe have an advantage when it comes to the midlife transition because we love questions like these. We love to go deeper. We love to explore what's inside of us. We love to learn more about how we tick and what motivates us. And midlife transition, it's a really prime time to do that. So like I said, during the midlife transition, a lot of big things might happen. You might quit your job or lose your job or leave your partner leaves you, or you move to a different country, or your parents die, right? Something big happens usually, and that kicks off this sort of rapid acceleration of growth and change in your life. And what comes along with that a lot of the time is like a brand new period of creativity. This is the time when a lot of INFJ personality types and INFP personality types say, okay, that's it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to write my book, I'm going to write the novel I always wanted to write, or I'm going to write my memoir, or I'm going to start painting, or I'm going to start painting again, or I'm going to launch my own business, or I'm going to move to Japan, right? Or I'm going to move to the US from Japan, right? But I'm going to do this thing that I need to do for me that's really characterized by a lot of creative growth. This can be a very exciting time. However, it can also feel like a very lonely time because a lot of the time when you're making these big shifts, you are changing very quickly. And the people around you might not understand that. Your family, your friends, your social circle, they just see you're changing and they don't understand why. They're not on the inside of the process. They're looking in from the outside and they're just seeing that you seem to be very different all of a sudden and you're making different decisions. And you might be making big decisions. Like I said, I'm going to move across the world or I'm going to quit my job and launch my own business. That can be very threatening to a lot of people, especially people who are very security oriented, right? Their main goal in life is security and keeping things the way they are, the status quo, not deviating from the norm. You suddenly making these big changes in your life can feel very scary to them. So what happens is a lot of times the INFJ personality type or INFP personality type is inwardly celebrating this midlife transition and excited about it and wants to follow it and see where it might go. But then we feel maybe a bit held back from the people in our lives who don't understand what's going on and are expressing concern, or might even be actively trying to undermine us because they're so threatened by it. You don't have to go through this alone, and you don't have to feel lonely while you're going through it. It's not just you. This is a very common way to do the midlife transition for INFJ personality types and INFP personality types. Again, we don't really go through the crisis part of it. To us, this is new and this is exciting. It more tends to be a crisis for the people around us. So it's very important to get support from other people who understand and who are like-minded and are going through the same thing you are. I'm teaching a new class all about this called Midlife Awakening. A couple weeks ago, I sent out an email to everybody on my list and I said, what should I teach next? And I had a couple topics in mind, and I'd heard from a few people about midlife awakening before, and I thought that might be up for people, so I included that on my little list of topics. Overwhelmingly, I was shocked, overwhelmingly people said they wanted midlife awakening as the first of the topics. That was the number one class people wanted to see right now, and I heard from so many of you who said, I am going through this right now, or I've been going through this for 2 years or 5 years. I feel so alone. I don't know who are the other people who are going through it, right? Like my friends don't understand. My family thinks I've kind of gone nuts. I'm feeling a big, deep shift inside. I have no one to share it with. I would love to be part of a group who's all exploring this territory together, what to expect and what's up ahead and what are the possibilities in a very open, intuitive way, not so much a rational, structured way of, well, this is the way you're supposed to do it in midlife, this is the way you're supposed to transition, but a way that has a lot of space and a lot of grace for me to unfold my own process within it. So that is the goal of this new class, Midlife Awakening. I'm calling it Midlife Awakening, but it really could be called Midlife and Late Life Awakening. So don't let that hold you back if you're like, well, I'm actually well past midlife, but I feel like I'm still transitioning or I'm started transitioning into a new phase in the past couple of years. Please come on in. If you are over 35, please come on in. I don't care what age you are. If you're 40, if you're 80, this is going to be a good class for you. And also younger people are welcome. I don't want to exclude anyone. If you are 21, I don't know how much interest this class will have for you, but you might want to join it now and then you can save the recordings for 20 years. So no one's excluded. If you feel like you're going through a midlife transition, age is just a number, and I'm not so worried about how old you are as how much this is resonating with you. So please feel free to come on in because there really is no age limit for this class. Please send me questions if you have them, Lauren@LaurenSapala.com. Registration is going to open in a few days, and I'm going to put out another couple videos in this series to give you a taste of what Midlife Awakening, the class, is all about. The next video in this series is INFJs, INFPs, and survival archetypes. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you then.